Hello, it is Wednesday, May the 27th. For a word of encouragement today, I'm choosing a verse from Nehemiah, but we need some background to put the passage into context. We need to know things about what is going on historically at this time before we proceed. First, Nehemiah was a Jew in exile under the rule of Artaxerxes, and he had risen to the position of a cupbearer for the king. This was a position of honor and a well-paying job. Nehemiah had accumulated quite a bit of wealth and respect during his tenure as the king's cupbearer. He learned that a remnant of the Israelites had returned to Judea, and there they were in great distress. The city of Jerusalem had fallen into disrepair. The wall around Jerusalem was destroyed. So Nehemiah asked the king to allow him to return to Judea to rebuild the wall. And per God's plan, Nehemiah left Persia and went to Jerusalem and served there for 12 years as the governor over the region of Judea. The wall around Jerusalem is rebuilt in a record time, just 52 days. 52 days. During that 52 days, Nehemiah had confrontations with many of the enemies of Israel who were still in the land of Judah. And for the record, those confrontations persisted for the entire 12 years that Nehemiah was serving as the governor of the region. In particular, one enemy at this time was named Sanballat. He regularly schemed against Nehemiah in attempts to take him down, but his attempts were futile. Here's a comment unrelated to the lesson today. Does Sanballat sound like the name of a good person to you? Not to me. Sanballat. Sanballat. It's like the names Darth Vader or Hannibal Lecter or Lex Luthor. You just know anyone with a name like that is not going to be a good person. But back on topic. In the book of Nehemiah, after the wall is rebuilt in just 52 days, the people gathered together, and the priest Ezra read to them from the law of Moses. And their hearts were touched. They began to cry. Nehemiah 8 verse 9 says, Nehemiah the governor, Ezra the priest and teacher of the law, and the Levites who were instructing the people said to them all, This day is holy to the Lord your God. Do not mourn or weep. Seems that all the people had been weeping as they listened to the words that Ezra was reading from the law of Moses. Does God always respond the way you think he should or the way you expect him to? Here's the story of George, walking along the edge of a steep cliff. He stumbles and falls over the edge. Several feet down, he grabs hold of a limb from a tree growing out from the side of the cliff, still hundreds of feet from the bottom of the valley below. He yells out, Help me! Help! Is anybody up there? And a deep voice comes down, George, this is the Lord. Let go of the tree, and I will catch you before you reach the bottom. George yells out again, Help me! I need help! Is anyone else up there? And my notes say pause for laughter, so I'm pausing for laughter. God's answer is not always what we are wanting or expecting. Nehemiah tells the people not to default to gloom and doom. Instead, he says, choose joy. The reason for this is recorded in verse 10. For the joy of the Lord is your strength. Repeat that. For the joy of the Lord is your strength. God reminds us of the ground on which we stand. God wants us to remember that no matter what we meet on the road, one thing will remain constant: the love of our God. The joy of the Lord is our strength. When sorrow comes our way, joy is just around the corner. The joy of the Lord is the foundation upon which we live as the people of God. The taste of sorrow is sweet, because whenever sorrow comes our way, it gives us cause to remember that God to whom we belong. Never forget who you are, W-H-O-U-R, and never forget whose you are, W-H-O-S-E-U-R. Never forget who you are, and never forget whose you are.